July 22nd, 2024, Goji Center upgraded the Indominus Rex into a brand new version that became the ultimate killing machine. But everyone on the internet was like, and I took that personally, and started making their own hybrids to challenge Indominus 2.0. It got to the point where Goji Center was like, hey, why don't we hold an event and let people try to take out our masterpiece? And while most people will probably make a bigger, stronger super predator like Hank, and smart people will make colossal herbivores like Samson, my uneducated and juvenile brain thought it was a good idea to challenge Indominus 2.0 with a bird!
Are you crazy?
Ow! Yeah, I'm crazy! What made you think I was sane?
Now, the reason I'm choosing a bird and not any of the other things I just mentioned is because I have a very specific strategy in mind to defeat the Indominus 2.0. The plan is to create a bird that specializes at hit-and-run tactics, repeatedly ripping small wounds into the Indominus, while quickly avoiding all of its attacks. But in order to do this, we need to craft a very special bird to pull this off. Otherwise, it's getting one-shotted. Or it'll be way too small to even perform the task, and the Indominus won't even give it the time of day. Because before even making my hybrid, I had to think long and hard about what was in the Indominus 2.0. Such as combining the bite force of a T-Rex with the shrew's iron teeth, or the robust tail and armor provided by the dwarf crocodile. But what my bird has to worry about the most is the arms. The muscular ape arms combined with the claws of the Saurophagonax, now called Allosaurus anax, rest in peace beef, could slap any big bird out of the sky, causing critical damage. And even if my bird is safe in the sky, the Indominus could just 360 no-scope it with a rock or something. So in order to avoid all of those hazards I just mentioned, I need a bird that is very fast and very agile. And the bird that fits this description the most is the peregrine falcon. These guys are famous for their speed and agility used to hunt down prey. The peregrine falcon achieves this thanks to its pointed wings, which reduces air turbulence, allowing it to move faster in the air, making it one of the fastest birds alive. And when it tucks those wings in, it performs the stoop, which makes it the fastest animal on the planet! And right before it hits its target, it opens up its wings, acting as the brakes, rears out its claws, and grabs. Or in the case of this battle, slashes. This is the strategy I want to execute on the Indominus 2.0. But you know, the itty-bitty peregrine falcon isn't going to be doing that much damage to the heavily armored and arm-swinging Indominus Rex 2.0. So we gotta boost that size and power if we want this thing to actually hold its own against it. So we're gonna be relying on two giant prehistoric birds for this. You probably know who they are already. Argentavis and Host Eagle. Argentavis is bringing overall size into the mix, as this was probably the biggest flying bird to ever fly. Now, our falcon won't be as big as the Argentavis, but is now at a decent size that the Indominus won't completely ignore it. But I didn't just include Argentavis because of its size. I included it because it's a vulture. The reason Indom 2.0 became a global catastrophe is because it was able to transmit diseases into all manner of species. So if for some reason Goji Center decides to enter a blood-stained Indominus into the battle, my falcon will be just fine because she has the vulture stomach, breaking down all manner of bacteria, reducing the risk of
diseases.
There is a bit more to my bird's immune system, but we'll get to that later. The Host Eagle, on the other hand, is bringing the muscles. The modern-day harpy eagle has talons that are strong enough to pluck monkeys out of trees, and Host Eagles of the past had to hunt down the giant moa. Placing these muscular legs and talons on my now much larger falcon means that when she's performing the stoop, the Indom 2.0 will at least feel something upon impact. But she's still lacking certain abilities in order to perform this very specific strategy. The next three birds I'm adding will ensure that it can do this hit-and-run tactic repeatedly for hours at a time. First of all, we're going to give this creature superior brain power with Raven DNA. It's no question that the Raven's brain is one of the most brilliant minds on the planet, capable of problem solving, remembering, learning, all the tools necessary for me to be able to teach my falcon where to strike the Indominus and what to avoid. I could even teach it to go straight for the Indominus's eyes ASAP, because once those eyes are removed, my bird will be impossible to detect, thanks to its silent flight, courtesy of the barn owl DNA. The combination of large wings and specialized feathers gift the barn owl with a near unhearable flight. The only issue is barn owls are one of the slower flyers out of all the birds of prey. But as far as I'm aware, Indom 2.0 doesn't have advanced hearing, so we can settle for partial silent flight. So that we'll still be undetectable, but we won't be interfering too much with the falcon's streamlined build. Furthermore, owls have incredible hearing, combined with the vulture sense of smell provided by the Argentavis, and the falcon's already superb eyesight. We've basically created an ultimate bird of prey. So without Indom 2.0's eyes, it'll have to rely on smell and hearing to detect the bird. But with her speed, agility, and silent flight, she will be able to repeatedly strike the Indominus without it even being able to detect it. And thanks to the 6th component, my birdie can do this for hours at a time. Meet the bar-tailed Godwit. Now this thing doesn't add anything to the hybrid visually, but what makes the Godwit so special is its ability to fly for days without rest. They achieve this by shrinking down their digestive organs, which they don't need during a migration, and in turn, growing their flight muscles, which they do need. If Godwits can stay airborne for over a week, then adding this feature to my falcon will allow her to stay in aerial combat for at least 24 hours. I'm not sure if that math checks out, but you know what, I'm just gonna roll with it.
I don't know why I felt compelled to do that.
So the combination of these 6 birds means my falcon can perform the hit and run tactic for hours at a time. But you know, nobody wants to watch an 8-hour fight. And the longer the fight goes on, the Indominus Rex is eventually gonna catch on what's going on and probably just slap my bird out of the sky still. So we're gonna add 3 more species into the mix to really round out this hybrid design. And I gotta be honest, I'm taking a page out of Goji Center's other super hybrid, the Mortalodon. So first we're going to add our 3rd and final prehistoric creature into the mix, the Deinonychus. While the Host Eagle added overall grip strength to the talons, Deinonychus will add a little more running power to those legs. So if my falcon ends up being grounded somehow, it has a much better chance of running away. But on an offensive standpoint, it also means this thing can have a much better running start before taking off and striking out those eyes in that first initial charge I mentioned earlier. The jaws of the Deinonychus will also add a bit more biting power to my bird, as well as putting some teeth in that beak. If Mortalodon can have fish scales, then my bird can have teeth, okay? Now you're all probably wondering why I chose Deinonychus instead of my boy Utah, as that's a much bigger and stronger dromaeosaur. Well, that's exactly why I didn't include it. Adding the big and more robust Utahraptor genome into my mostly agile build could result in a lot of conflicting instincts. The smaller and more lightly built Deinonychus should be more than enough to contribute everything I need to this build, especially since I'm mostly doing this to get those teeth into the beak. So that we can add our final 2 components, the short-tailed shrew and the vampire bat. These 2 components are basically the MVP of Mortalodon's success. The shrew DNA already provides iron teeth, but the vampire bat improves it even further by adding a special saliva that prevents wounds from scabbing over and spreading the iron to other parts of the Mortalodon's body. So adding this combination onto my bird will result in it having an iron beak and iron talons. Other benefits to using the vampire bat DNA includes the ability to jump, which just coincides with the rest of the components, and the snake-like sensory organs, which will allow my falcon's stoop to be even more precise than ever. And the eagle talons, which are now made of iron, will deal a lot more significant damage. Additionally, the shrew's immune system should protect my bird from the Indominus' shrew venom. Like the Indominus even needs venom to take out my bird. 1 bite is more than enough.
Was that the bite of 87?
But either way, since these 2 both have shrew in their DNA, it means that the venom is basically neutralized on both ends. So to recap, my bird is basically a peregrine falcon that's been sized up thanks to the RG and Host Eagle DNA, as well as getting stronger legs and a stronger immune system. It has the problem-solving power of a raven, the silent flight of the barn owl, the stamina of the bar-tailed Godwit, and the Deinonychus shrew vampire bat combination results in the deadliest weapons of any bird on the planet. And after fusing all of these components together, we get the Am I doing this right? I don't know. I had to do this last minute over myself because apparently this is copyrighted. Falco Patientia, aka the Patient Falcon. But I just call her Maddie because it's shorter to say and I just thought it sounded nice. I gotta admit, it was very hard to make a realistic hybrid that I actually had to put real thought into, because I'm usually used to making nonsensical hybrids where I just take random creatures, fuse them together to make something that looks cool, not functional. But Goji Center was very strict on the realism factor, so I had to ensure that all my creatures had some form of synergy with each other. Now that I'm done explaining who is Maddie and why is Maddie, let me lay out the scene on how is Maddie going to win this. After months of training, Maddie is finally transported to the Goji Center Coliseum. She is currently in a holding cell, waiting to be released to fight the Indominus 2.0. But thanks to her sense of smell and her acute hearing, she knows exactly where the Indominus is. However, she's fully aware that the Indominus will also be able to smell her, so she prepares her stance, waiting for the right cue. Once Goji Center sounds the alarm, the doors swing open, and Maddie rushes out with a burst of speed. The Indominus also bursts out, but before she can even realize what's going on, Maddie has already taken flight and ripped out her eyes. Maddie doubles back as the Indominus clenches at the sockets that used to contain her eyes. During its delusion state, Maddie takes this opportunity to become airborne once again. She makes use of her silent flight and proceeds to strike the Indominus' weak points, then circles above as the Indominus begins to regain its composure. The Indominus stops and listens and sniffs, attempting to locate her opponent. It's quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, wham! Maddie swoops into the Indominus' head, leaving deep gash marks. The Indominus begins to run, trying to make herself a harder-to-hit target. But Maddie's precision is on a whole nother level. Another slash! Down on the thigh this time. The Indominus becomes enraged, and she begins swinging her arms around wildly, hoping the Falcon will foolishly fly into its claws. But Maddie has already distanced herself, waiting patiently for the Indominus to tire itself out. Once the Indominus is tired out, Maddie strikes again, enraging the Indominus once more. This game of cat and mouse goes on for quite some time, but eventually, the Indominus becomes tired and starts to succumb to its wounds. Maddie spots the fatigue and lands, just close enough for the Indominus to realize where she is. The Indominus attempts to reach her, but collapses in the process. When she realizes it's safe, Maddie climbs onto the body of the Indominus, basking in the glory of her victory. Or she would be if the audience hadn't fallen asleep because the battle took so long to complete. So, yeah, that's Maddie's strategy on how to defeat the Indominus Rex 2.0. But I will be the first to admit that it is not a perfect strategy. This is basically a high-risk, high-reward type of strat that becomes even more risky depending on the terrain, reaction time, Maddie's speed, especially with that first strike. If Maddie's too slow or too far away, the Indominus will be able to react in time to skewer Maddie on her claws, turning a 4-hour showdown into a 1-minute brawl. But say she did survive the initial charge, but failed to take out the Indominus' eyes. Without the initial confusion, Maddie won't be able to get her head start in combat, and the Indominus will be better suited to protect itself. The Indominus will now be able to throw spears up at Maddie, and if she does try to stoop, the Indominus can simply pull up a spear and stab her mid-dive, or slap her out of the sky, or grab her after an attack. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the arms are the biggest problem for my bird, which is why it's crucial that Maddie rips out the Indominus' eyes as soon as possible. She can't grab you if she can't see you. So, do you think Maddie stands a chance? Are there any other components I should have added or swapped out to make this more effective at killing Indominus 2.0? Or is she only worthy of becoming Indom's Thanksgiving dinner? But no matter the result, I'm just glad I had the guts to actually even try and participate in this contest. Although with all the submissions, I highly doubt that Maddie's gonna be able to stand out, and there's no chance of her getting into the top 16. or even the top 50 for that matter. But to you, person watching this video, thank you for listening to Maddie's story. If you enjoyed, then leave a like and consider subscribing possibly. It'll convince me to feature Maddie in a few more videos, so she doesn't end up being forgotten. See you in my next video, bye!
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video from beginning to end. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and join the Zainreborn community. See you in the next one. Bye-bye! Bye! Bye!